week we talked about Jesus checkmating those who were following him. Y'all remember that? Y'all remember it because y'all started singing Heat Wave. Y'all remember that? Always and forever. Each moment with you, like a dream come true. Every day, love me your own special way. I think that's the beauty of the gospel. Ray Dale, I think that's the beauty, my friend, is that here we are talking about Jesus making a statement, and it intertwines with everything in our society. And it makes it become relevant when you can tie a biblical truth to a heat wave. Amen. Talking about I promise to love faithfully. Totally committed. These people are following Jesus. You must remember where it all started as I conclude this chapter 6. For those who are here, you remember he walked on water, saved Peter. Remember the boats were looking for him? And they got to the other side? This is the conclusion of it. This is the conclusion of that. Let me ask you this question before I preach this sermon. Have any of y'all ever got caught outside in the rain? Raise your hand. Now, I'm not talking about a rain that is light and you walking like you in Seattle. If you ever go to Seattle, they got mist. I went to Seattle, and it was raining, and I was the only one walking fast down the street because everybody else was like, this is nothing but mist. Anybody been to Seattle? So you know what I'm talking about. You don't know what I'm talking about? It's a mist. And I'm from Kansas City. I'm like, it's rain. They said, this ain't rain. It rains up there all the time. They're used to it. But I'm talking about one of those hard, drenching rains. And you caught. And you just drenched. Keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. Go back to whenever you was caught in the rain. And you like, it's too far to run. You just caught. We left off with Jesus saying, hey, y'all can't come to me unless I draw you. Verse 59. John 6:59. Now, notice he was saying all this to them that no one can come to me unless the Father draw him. In verse 58, he said to them that your forefathers ate bread that came down from heaven. We're talking about being totally committed now. And they following him just because he had fed them the bread, wanted their stomachs full. He said, your ancestors ate manna and they died. But whoever feeds on this bread will do what? And he had talked about him being the bread and him being the blood, his body. That's why in the early church they accused him of cannibalism. They thought that the early church was cannibalism because of the statement Jesus has made about eating my blood, eating my flesh, and drinking my blood. And he was not talking about the Lord's Supper. That happened a year after he had made this statement. He was about being totally committed to every word that comes out of Jesus' mouth. Are you that committed? And you have no say in how he says you should do it. That's what he's saying. He's checking them. I draw you. I had to drag you. I keep you. I protect you. I raise you up the last day. It's all because of me. And I'm committed to you. I'm not going to lose none of you. And they were talking about, but our forefathers, give us some of this bread that our forefathers did. He said, that material stuff that they did, they ate, and they what? Died. And some of you here today are so caught up in making money, materialism, you get those things. And if you have Christ, you're still going to die. But look at verse 59. It's really interesting. Sister Love, Kathy, notice where he was teaching this stuff at. He said this while teaching in the synagogues in Capernaum. See, sometimes we read text and we just pass by verses like this. But this verse is packed. Watch this now. He said this while he was teaching in the synagogue. Let me take you back. He came over to the water. They found him on the shore. Darnell. Now he's walking, and as he's walking, he's making his way to the synagogue. And he had went into the synagogue. And all these people are still following him. And he gets into the synagogue, and all these people who was following him because they got that bread, all over there. The disciples are there. Everybody's there. Now he's teaching in the synagogue. But where was the synagogue at? In Capernaum. Let me show you something. Where he was teaching this. He was teaching this in Capernaum. Well, Matthew 5:5, Jesus had healed Peter's mother-in-law. Guess where it was? In Capernaum. Some friends had brought their paralyzed friend on a mat to be healed and lifted him up on a roof and came down to be healed, and Jesus saved him. Guess where that happened? In Capernaum. Jesus had frequent Capernaum synagogue all his life. That wasn't the first time that he was in what? Capernaum. A Syrian soldier whose son was sick had came to Jesus, and Jesus healed this man. And the man said, I ain't even got to go because I'm over people. And if I say it, it'll happen. He says, I know you could just speak the word and it will happen. Well, guess where this happened? It was in, you got it, in Capernaum. Here's the thing that blows my mind. Bear with me, I left my glasses in my office. Here's the thing that blew my mind. He had 12 apostles. 5 of them met him in. Matthew was on the side of the road hustling people, taking advantage of people, and Jesus was walking through Capernaum, and he said, leave that dope house. Come with me. And guess when Matthew got saved? You ain't hearing me now. You ain't hearing me now. Guess what? Peter and Andrew, guess where their hometown was? Capernaum. You got it. You got it. Watch this here. The woman at the well. Guess where he met her? The woman with the issue of blood who crawled and said, if I can just touch the hem of his garment. Guess where she was when she touched his hem? She was in. My fact, Jairus' daughter, the ruler, the high chief, who didn't like Jesus. But when his daughter got sick, he said, we need to talk to Jesus. And guess what Jesus did? He healed her. Guess where it was? Right there in Capernaum. Pastor, why are you saying all this? I'm saying because Capernaum was very familiar with Jesus. But yet Jesus is saying, you still don't believe. Wait a minute, don't shout. Maybe you are Capernaum. He done took you from the projects. He done healed you. He done took you out of jail. He done made a way out of no way. He done got you out of situations that the doctor said you shouldn't get out of. You done survived wrecks. Talk to me, somebody. You done come through all kind of stuff. That is your Capernaum. Jesus done showed up, but yet you still talking about, give me some of this bread. So when I read this text, I'm saying, why does he have to tell people in Capernaum enough? Enough of me doing stuff. Now you got to believe. And I submit to you, a whole lot of us are from Capernaum. And you still want him to do tricks. Yet, look what happened. Joyce, look what happened. After all those things, to go through your Bible, after all those things Jesus had done right there, and those people had witnessed all those things, had heard about all those things. Tony Tyler, they heard about all those things, Tony. And look at verse 60. Look at verse 60. On hearing this, that they got to do everything that he say do. Many of his disciples said he done lost his mind. They said, now, this is a hard teaching. It wasn't hard when he healed your daughter. It wasn't hard when he gave you that job you don't deserve. But now he's saying, you got to do everything I say do. They said, now this. So you got to understand the text, Tim, to appreciate Capernaum. See, had there been people who were not familiar with Jesus, maybe. But Capernaum, he hung out. He hung out in Capernaum a whole lot. And yet they still, all these people still talking about, you got to show us so we can believe. You got to show us. And some of us, and I know you want me to move on, but some of you still been in church all your life, and you still saying, God, if you got to prove it to me. God, I ain't got to prove nothing to you. I'm through proving it to you. I saved your grandma, your daddy, your uncle, your kids, everybody else. Matter of fact, I done saved you from stuff you know. You ain't even, come on, they may not know, but I know. And God is so good at saving us, he saves us from stuff we don't even know he done saved us from. Yet, hearing this, many, not a few, many of his disciples said, this is a hard teaching. We can't accept it. This is a sharp contrast to the Jesus we thought you were. I loved it when the choir was singing. I loved it when the preacher was preaching. Now they want me to be committed every day of the week. The popular enthusiasm for Jesus was over. And some of you, listen to me, I'm excited about this text. They thought that he was going to be a great political leader. They thought he was delivered them from Rome. Like we talked about a couple of weeks ago, they made him out to be a Santa Claus, fire extinguisher. But now, watch this. Calvin Jamison, watch this, my friend. Now he's saying, no, I'm Lord and Savior. I'm the bag of chips and all that. I'm the HNI. Don't worry about it. If you ain't got it, don't worry about it. What did he mean, HNI? Don't worry about it. I'm the head person in charge. That's what that means. And now, We cross this divide of commitment. And he doesn't negotiate with your sorry self. He says, now it's all I say. I'm done doing those tricks. You just got to do everything I say and believe. Look what they said. Who can accept this? Translation. Don't go to sleep on me. They made a decision. I am not going to obey him. Because I have no say in my life. There's got to be a God that gives me say. There's got to be a religion that I can have. I can do what I want to do. I probably say stuff that ain't popular, but I got to say it because it's in the Bible. I don't care what the government say about two men getting married. You want to make me homophobic? Go right ahead. No, I'm not homophobic. I don't care about a woman saying, I feel like a man. Okay, that you may feel like, you may. I love you too. That's cool. But you were born, that's sex. That's who you are. Don't make me homophobic if you want. I'm not. There's some stuff I was born with I don't like. I ain't 6'9". I'm 5'. I don't like it. But that's what I was born with. And then you protest me, do whatever you got to do. But he's saying, listen to me. My standard is the standard. I got my own truth. He said, yeah, the truth is you are filthy and raggedy, and your heart is deceitfully wicked. And without me, you can't do nothing. The truth is what I say it is. We got this generation now saying, I got to find my own truth. The truth is Jesus. And what he says about anything, that is the truth. And he don't need your permission for it to be the truth. Well, I don't care what you think. I don't care. You ain't got a heaven and a hell. You ain't the Alpha, you ain't Omega. Winds don't obey you. Animals don't obey you. Come on now. Earth ain't your footstool. Where were you when I created the mountains? It was me that told the ocean, only go so far. It was me that stepped out on the nothing and said, let there be. Now you want to tell me what you think? Like I said, make me homophobic if you want to. Get the truth. Now, I will say this. The church needs to be more compassionate to our lesbian and brothers and sisters in Christ. Hey, it's more over ways now. We'll accept everybody else and they sin. We'll know somebody shacking all day. That's all right. Somebody else gay. Oh, we got to get them out of here. They gay. We got to get them out of here. Well, wait a minute. What about the shacker? What about the one who's been serving for years and they ain't never tied? Still ain't giving no money. Put that same $5. It ain't even worth $5 because when you started giving it 10 years ago, now the inflation got it to 30, 35 cents. But we don't want to address your sin. So we got to address both now. We just can't stand it. I agree, we can't stand it. We can't stand you being sinful either. And my anniversary next week. I done blew it. What Jesus is saying is what I say about anything is the truth. They said, we can't accept this. We cannot accept this. We can't. We can't accept this. Now watch this very closely, and this is shout material. Verse 61 is the teacher in me. No, go back to verse 60. They said now, they didn't even say it to him. They looked at him like, you know, when people look at you, you don't know your mind. He's smooth tripping up in here. Who he think he is? That's what they doing. They tugging on his out. Look at verse 61. Jesus knows what you're thinking right now. He said he were to his disciples, circle disciples, were grumbling about this. Jesus said to them, does this offend you? And I'm asking you, if what I said about the truth, does it offend you? Because what we're trying to do is make this culture more friendly to the world on every issue that we have. I got to live my truth. Trust me, you don't want to do that. The Bible says there's a way that seems right unto man, and the end thereof the ways of death. There's the way that what God says about anything is right. Look at verse 62. Then, what if you see the Son of Man ascend to where he was before? Look at the exclamation mark. He says, what if you see me just ascend up into heaven right now? That's what he's asking them. He said, if you think that blows your mind, what if right now I just take off and start levitating into heaven? He said, where I came from, heaven. Now watch this now. He says, what then if you see this? If you see me levitate right now, go to heaven, or if you're around when I levitate, where I was before, what if you see that? Look at next verse. The Spirit gives life, the flesh counts for nothing. The words I have spoken to you, they are full of the Spirit of life. What he's saying is, if you can't accept this, you ain't seen nothing yet. He said, you ain't seen nothing. There is no contract between you and God where you and God got to make decisions to be committed. He said, no, I'm God. I was in one of the new members class. I was having a great class. And they were talking about how we raise our children now. Do you want to go to church today? My mom made me go to church. I'm not going to impose that upon you because I know how it felt. So do you want to go to church today? If not, then you don't have to go because I was done like that and I hated it. I wish my mama would ask me. My house went like this. Don't let me have to come in there. And it just kills me real quick. It kills me how we give our kids a choice for church. But we don't give them a choice for anything else. Well, maybe you do. I don't know. I'm not trying to be funny, but it's like, that's how it is with God. The point I'm trying to make, seriously. Them old school mothers. John Leslie. This is what we get ready to do. It's time to eat. Matter of fact, I would love to say, what you cook? I made some chicken and spaghetti and some green beans. I ain't trying to eat that this morning. Well, just call Uber and get what you want. Tangi, how does that work? And we take that mentality to be the same thing with the Lord. And that's a huge mistake. That's a huge mistake. Kids need direction. They need to be told. They need to be told. Do you want to go to school today? No. Stop it, Brooks. Matter of fact, I think I want to skip the first, second, and third grade. Can't we just do that? No, you say you're going to school. You're doing this. Only thing I'm saying is it's the same thing when it comes to the Lord. Because he knows what's best for us. Watch this. He said, you ain't seen nothing yet. Put that last verse up there, please. He said, and the words that I give, he says, even though you have no voice in them. Oh, my God, don't you cry, Brooks. I think about my mom, and she's battling with this horrible disease called Alzheimer's. And I thank God for what she did for us. I thank God for it. I hated it at the time, Kettler, and I hated it. I thought she was the meanest woman in the world. When the street lights come on, you better have your butt in this house. And it seemed like every time the street light came up, I was at bat. Come on, pitch the ball, pitch it. I would see my brother say, no, I'm going home. I'm going home because Mama said when the street lights come on. And I'm so glad that she got me out of the streets. I'm so glad she made me go to school. I'm so glad she made me eat my vegetables. I'm so glad she didn't let me just hang out. I'm so glad she didn't let me have my friends just to spend the night when she wasn't at home. Stop it, Brooke, stop it. I don't get this. I'm just dropping my daughter off at her boyfriend's house. I trust her. I don't trust him. I had a girlfriend, Kayla, one time said, I want to bring my girlfriend home, Mama. She said, you'll see her at school. I said, I want to see her after school. She said, you'll see her at school when all the teachers are there. My mama, she lives way out. Well, you'll see her at school. But Mama, she said, now we ain't having that conversation no more. And let me stop. She kept me from stuff. She kept me from stuff. And what God has said is, I'm keeping you from yourself. And you don't even know it. Watch this real quick. Look at verse 64. Then something happened. Look what Jesus said. Yet there are some of you who still don't believe. All that I've done in your life today. Some of y'all still ain't totally committed. Capernaums. You sit here talking about prove me, show me. I'm waiting. He said some of you still don't believe. Some of you still won't commit to me. For Jesus had known from the beginning which of them did not believe and who will betray him. Now this, Raydale, gives you, if you had a theological mind, this gives you theological conundrum. Now look at verse 65. This will blow your mind. He went on to say, this is why I told you that no one can come to me unless the Father has enabled them. You don't believe. Look at verse 66. Now, watch this, Raydale. From this time, circle many. Many of his what? I can't hear you. Many of his what? Say it again. Turn back and no longer followed him. I looked this up. They never, ever, ever, the language says they never, ever, ever went back to his teachings. Never. Because it was too hard. But wait a minute. This creates a conundrum for me. Because, Pastor, didn't you say if you were his disciple, you can't fall away? But yet we see here that many of his disciples left and went back to the world. So, can you lose your salvation? Can you not lose your salvation? Because this text of Misha clearly says that they fell away. The translation is they deserted him, did not go back to his teachers, went back to their own lives. They did not do it anymore. They said, deuces. But watch this word, Misha. Disciples. Reniki, I'm going to get in trouble when I say this. His disciples turned back and didn't follow ever again. Here's the catch. In the Greek language, this word disciple is translated as student. Patheon is sometimes translated as one who follows just to learn. Anybody who followed him in those days, or anybody who followed anybody, was considered a disciple of that person. It means that you were a what? A student. It means that you was a student. What am I saying? What am I saying? The church has a whole lot of students who we call disciples. Well, Nikki, we get the word disciple mixed up with true believer. But in the Greek language, this is clear. These were people who went to church every day, joined ministries, ate the benefits, got the blessings, worked hard, put something in, but never dedicated, never committed. We're learning from them. It was benefiting from them. They called them disciples, but they were really students. And the language in the Greek means that when they deserted him, they said they withdrew, they turned back, turned away, and no longer walked. They deserted it. They were never saved. Now look at verse 67. D-Mac. Watch this right now. Many of his disciples turned and said, deuces, we out. That's too hard. It don't take all that. I want to have some say in what I do. Later, let's go. And we ain't never coming back. Jesus looks, Roper, and he asked the what? What's those last two words? Say it again. The last two words. The first time in the Bible that phrase is ever used. And that phrase in the Greek means the true believers. Ned, he looked at his believers and he said, they're just following for what they can get. They're students. But then he looked at the 12. If you look in the scripture, it always talks about the 12, the apostles, the ones that were chosen. Oh, you say Judas. He says, no, he was never amongst them. But he looked at the 12. Judas was there for a reason. So he looked at the true disciples. He looked at the true believer. And he said to you, you don't want to go too, do you? He was not asking them a question. He was making a statement. In the Greek language, he was making a statement. What he was saying was, you can't go, can you? He looking at you like, you trying to go, but you can't go, can you? He's really saying, do you? Do you? Because you got something they don't have. You are the 12. They just a student. Yes, this is the first time the phrase the 12, Roper, was ever used in the Bible. And you see it all the time. It refers to God's anointed ones. And he looked at the 12 and he says, you don't want to leave, do you? Do you? Do you? Do you? Do you? Do you want to leave too, do you? He ain't begging them to stay. What he is doing, oh, help me, Jesus, make this clear. What he is saying to them is, listen, what about you? And look at Peter's answer. But before I get his answer, what was the first question I asked you when we started the sermon out today? Have you ever been what? You ever been wet? Now go back to being wet. All your clothes get drenched. The day before, Peter had drowned in the lake. And Jesus had picked him up. And his clothes was wet. It's the next day. Your clothes are still a little damp, ain't they? So, Angie, I believe Peter's sandals were still a little wet. And when he said, do you want to go? He said, shh. And it had his memory say, no. Because I remember when I didn't have nothing, shh, you made a way. Shh. I remember when I was in jail, shh, you got out. And God will wet your clothes to make you remember what he has done. What's your wet sandals? Your wet sandals may be cancer. Your wet cancer, he has done something for you. And God is saying, now look at the wet clothes you got on. You was out there, you couldn't do nothing, but it was me that reached down and grabbed your, and I brought you back up and you saved. So Peter said, now that I think about it, and here's the part that I believe Peter said, it ain't like I ain't trying to go. I can't go. Because the question is, put the next verse above here. The next verse is like, Lord, who else gonna put up with us? Who else gonna do for me like you do for me? We used to sing a song, can't nobody do me like Jesus. Can't nobody do me like the Lord. And Peter was saying, not only my sandals are probably wet, not only are we thinking about what you have done, and ain't nobody else capable of doing what you want to do, Peter was probably saying, let's be honest. There was times when I tried to leave, but you got a hold on me. And the old folk would say, something within me that holdeth the rein, something within me I cannot explain. What am I saying is that those who are really a part of the body, you can't leave. I'm going to get out of here. I'm going to get out of here. How many of y'all want to be honest up in here today? Raise your hand if you want to be honest. Okay. How many times you done tried to leave? Let me hear some numbers. I done tried to walk away from this thing over and over and over again. I done tried to quit. Rachel, but it's like fire shut up in my bones. So what Peter was saying is, I really don't have a choice. You got a hold of me, and you are God all by yourself. I love my mama, but my mama can't do me like you do me. I don't even know my daddy. He checked out at an early age, so I can't run to him. My friends are sometimey. And if they ain't sometimey, sometimes they broke. Sometimes we fall out. And they call block me. But you, God, you've been with me through the ups and through the downs. You done gave me stuff I really don't deserve. So I've discovered I ain't here because I want to be here. I'm here because you chose me. That you, from the foundations of the world, you put your seal on me. You marked me. You drew me. You protect me. You teach me. And you're going to raise me. So I will be a fool to leave you. Yes. 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 So if you're totally committed, you can't leave. You can't. Let me try this one, but sit down. I done been here 27 years. 27 years. 27 years, Sydney and Bev. I done been here 27 years. And I done seen some crazy love. One day, yeah, we hate each other, Pastor. We hate him. I ain't going to never talk to him. I hate her. We going to get divorced. We can't leave. The next Sunday, what happened? God told me to stay. I'm not making fun of it. I'm saying what God joins together. And so y'all don't want to say amen to that, but some of y'all don't try to let go of some stuff, and you can't. Well, I'm trying to tell you, God is looking at them and saying, you can't go, can you? And if I believe that the text to be the right way, Jesus didn't sit there and walk and wait for the answer. He probably looked at them and said, y'all ain't even got a choice. Y'all don't want to leave here, to you. And I believe he just said, come on, and kept walking. And I bet Peter was like this here. Wait a minute, no, you can't just be. Hold up, Jesus, hold on. You can't just, he ain't sitting there begging for an answer. He just keeps walking. Just like he ain't begging for no answer from you. He's still just walking. And he said, now where you gonna go? And as I close, you ain't got nowhere to go. You ain't got nowhere to go. If you are a part of the 12, and I ain't talking about the 12 apostles, I'm talking about the true body of believers. Disciples and students come, go. Next Sunday will be 27 years for me. I done seen them come, and I ain't talking about church membership. I'm talking about they done went into a whole new different religion. And I think about this passage. I say they just students. So now that we know we can't go, why won't you commit? And here's how you commit. Next verse, please. I think there's verse 69. Verse 69, he says, I don't know if I gave him 69. I might have started to 68. That's probably on me, Tish. Verse 69 says, Lord Jesus, don't you cry, Brooks. He says, my sanctified imagination, Peter's clothes was probably still damp, and he said, nah, I can't. And he was probably something on the inside pulling him saying, you tried, you can't. Look at his language, Miguel. He says, he speaks for the 12. He says, we have come to believe. Didn't start off that way, but we walk with you long enough. We come to believe and to know that you are the Holy One of God. When you know who Jesus is, Donna, when you know who he is, when you know who Jesus is, you can't leave. Let me tell you something. I ain't here 27 years. And I'm ashamed of it. There's been some times when I tried to get up out of here because I got hurt. I thought I was being done wrong. I said, it's got to be a better way. It's got to be a better way to make a living. It's got to be. Twice, my early years. But with need, I just couldn't quit. I couldn't quit. I couldn't leave. And I ain't talking about Macedonia. I'm talking about Christianity. Who hurt you? I said, I can go make money. I ain't got to be a part of this. I ain't got to be a part of this. I ain't got to be a part of this. But God said, I've called you. And I've come to believe, though the storms keeps raging, I know he'll lead me safely through. Something within me, that hold the reins. Something within me I cannot explain. I've been crying. How did I know that there's something within me? He got a hold of me, and he won't turn me loose. So I'm committed. Comes what may. I ain't got nowhere to go. God, you're the only one. All my chips are in. I don't care who leaves. I don't care what you do to me. I don't care what you say. I don't care what you like. I got to do what he says do. And where he leads me, I'll follow. I'll go with him all the way. All to Jesus. I surrender. All to him. I freely give. I will ever love and trust him in his presence. I surrender all. I surrender all. All to thee, my blessed Savior. Commit. There is no other way. You can't lead this thing. You can't do it. Here I am. Here I stand. My life is in your hand, God.